Uh, Welcome. My name is Rahul Gangal, and I'm gonna talk on few things about United States immigration policies and overall flow today. Uh, I came to US in 2011 as a student, and since then the whole immigration thing has been a really rocky ride so far. And I thought it would be a good idea for me to go ahead and share some of my experiences with you also. Whenever you guys get into this stuff, the process would be a little bit more easier for you. I came to US to do my master's in telecommunication engineering from Rochester Institute of Technology in New York. I completed it in 2013. So, uh, and currently I'm working as telecom sales engineer for a company in Dallas, Texas. So few of the topics that I want to touch on today is the foremost is how immigration exactly affects uh, to the people like us who come to states for pursuing our career and in search of stabilized life here. The second and most important thing is we have all been hearing a lot of fuss about these changed policies, especially in the Trump administration. So I would definitely like to touch on those topics and make few things clear because I have been seeing there's been a lot of confusion about those things and unnecessarily panic, especially in India. And the third thing is the employment and immigration status. These two things are extremely different. However, when we come here to study, these are certain things are not made clear to us, and that's the reason when we get here and try to get into the job scene, job market, that is a harsh shock many of us get. So, to give you a little overview for those who come to US as student, the normal process is from F1 to any sort of work visa. In 90% of time, it's going to be H1B, and after that, green card or PR. Um, the process that is architected by the United States immigration policies and services is those who come on here on F1 visa after they get their first EAD, that is OPT, they are eligible to apply for H1B if their employer is willing to. Then you go on to H1. On H1, you have to be at least 4 to 5 years before you become eligible to apply for a green card. Usually in fourth or fifth year of H1, your employer would apply for your green card. The actual green card take a lot of time to arrive. However, the meanwhile, your existing visa keeps on extending, and you also get something called EAD, which is Employment Authorization Document. The very important thing to understand here is the EAD, which I keep on mentioning, is Employment Authorization Document, is the most important thing for you for those who come to US to pursue their career. From students' point of view, there are two types of EAD that you could get. The first is CPT and second is OPT. CPT stands for Curriculum Practical Training and OPT stands for Optional Practical Training. Lot of universities nowadays, they are not authorizing CPT. CPT is something that is given by your university as part of process of your curriculum. When we are in our homeland, motherland, the thing that we don't realize or we don't have to deal with is our immigration status. But when you go abroad, especially in North American countries like US, that does come into a picture a lot. Just because you are here, that doesn't mean you could work right away. I have seen a lot of cases, especially during my master's, where people were able to get job in big companies like very well-known companies like Cisco, Juniper, Microsoft, you name it. They had a job, but they couldn't work because they didn't get all required authorization from university. So when you are studying, after 9 months, you become eligible to apply for CPT. That is the standard process. And after 9 months of coursework, usually you have, if you are able to fetch a job offer or internship, you go to your department or university and apply for CPT. Uh, in my university, we all got 1 year of CPT. My first job, which was the internship. I did 4 months internship with State of New York. I worked as a network admin intern. For from those who are from telecom or networking background, they will understand. Basically, our job was to go on different sites and create small LAN and push out some software. So for that, I use my CPT. However, if you're able to get full-time job, you can use your CPT for that as well. Now, why is this so important for students? Because you will see a lot of big universities, a lot of well-known universities, they are very reluctant to offer CPT. Why? Because if student gets CPT, then his overall course length extends, right? And make no mistake, first and foremost the thing that university have to take in consideration is how they're doing business, how they're making money. So if a student takes more than 2 years or more than 1.5 year to complete the studies, it shortens their options to get more students in. So, that's the reason there are a lot of universities who are not willing to give CPT. So make sure the university you are trying to get in or you are already in does provide CPT program. I would highly recommend as soon as you start your first semester, reach out to your departmental heads, reach out to your international student office, reach out to your seniors, and ask them about uh, the CPT thing. There are so many examples in my university and others also where students change their department just to get this employment authorization, which is CPT. uh, you will often see the some of the departments like CS and IT, which curriculum wise are very similar, but you will find one department offers full 1 year of CPT and others is very hesitant enough. I'm really emphasizing on this point because I have gone through this once where I was able to get a job in one of the big companies, but my university refused to give me CPT before I could complete next semester, and I obviously ended up losing that job offer. The second thing I mentioned is OPT. You get OPT when you're almost done with your coursework, and either you are graduated or about to graduate soon. Uh, OPT is not given by university. OPT is given by United States government, the USCIS, United States Immigration Services. So university can't do much in case of OPT. Usually, once you are done with your coursework and you have only your graduate project remaining, or only you're working on your thesis, or the university knows for sure that you're going to graduate in next semester or two, that's when you're eligible to apply for OPT. And usually, you get your OPT card within 3 to 4 months. So remember, before you have 2 to 3 months left to graduate, start applying for jobs, because OPT, which is called EAD card also, that takes around 2 to 3 months to come. So what many students like to do is they like to utilize that time to get a job offer. And if company is big enough and understanding enough, they do wait for you till you get your EAD. Now, nowadays, there have been multiple cases because all this immigration overhaul where there have been slight delays in getting OPT. But as I said, if you have a job in well-known company, and foremost of all, if your manager, your hiring manager is good enough, understanding enough, then usually that doesn't create any more ruckus than needed. All right. So the part of this immigration process, and all of you must have been hearing this a lot in news lately, is H-1B. H-1B, as you know, is work visa. OPT maximum you could get is for 2 to 3 years. So almost all of us, we like to apply for H-1B as soon as possible. New H-1 can only applied in March and April, that time period. So as soon as you get the job, make sure the first March and April that you get while you're in job, you strike a conversation with your manager and apply for H1. Since last few years, it's not guaranteed. It's a lottery system, which that means is they put in all the application and their algorithm select random application, and those applications are then processed. Getting selected in lottery does not mean that your H1 is approved. In almost 85 to 90% cases, H1 do get approved, but it takes a lot of time. So from your point of view, what you have to remember is as soon as you land up a job, You have to make sure the first coming March and April you are applying for your H1. The second thing that nowadays has increased a lot is RFEs. It's request for more evidence or additional documents, whether it be CPT, OPT, or H1. USCIS inadvertently or advertently, they're sending these RFAs in more and more numbers to applicants. That basically that is that okay, we have gotten your application and it looks good, but in order to proceed further, we need some more evidences. So this delays the whole process a lot. The H1Bs that used to get approved in 3 to 4 months before, now it's taking over 8 to 9 months. So that's been dealing a lot. But at that time, if you have a valid employment authorization, like if you're already on OPT or CPT, then you don't need to worry much. I myself have been in a case where my OPT, or at that time I had OPT EAD, which was going to end soon, but I hadn't gotten my H1 approved. So so I mean, don't get scared if you get yourself into a tricky situation like this when your first EAD is going to expire and your second EAD hasn't arrived yet, or your H1 hasn't arrived yet. That is pretty normal nowadays, and as long as you have good rapport with your manager, it should be fine. Now, as I mentioned, the CPT and OPT, this is not only for not only for master student. This also applies for those who go for doctorate and postdoctorate, and even for those who come from bachelor's degree. CPT and OPT for every level of degree you get only once. That means that if you come to United States to do bachelor's, after completion of that bachelor's, you get one OPT and one CPT. CPT, as I said, is 1 year. OPT is could be for 1 or 2 years depending on your type of degree. There is the category of degrees which come under STEM. I think STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So those whose degree fall into this category, they get 2 years of OPT. Those who don't, they unfortunately get only 1 year of OPT. But for most part, I have seen almost those who come from India, 90 to 95% of them, they do fall under STEM. CS, IT, telecom, mechanical, industrial, production, civil, to name a few. Even some sorts of MBA, like MBA in IT, MBA in system management, they also fall under STEM. So unless your degree is very non-technical or non-mathematical, those are the only degrees that don't fall into STEM. So, but again, that is something I think you should take into consideration, because again, I have also seen the case where the name of the degrees don't sound like they can be very technical, but from USCIS's point of view, they are actually technical. To give you a few examples, I had few friends. They were doing their masters in print media. Now, when you say print media, obviously it's something to do with printers and printing technology, right? So it's very engineering and very mathematical domain. Like you have to be extremely good in different types of maths, a lot of types of maths. But USCIS does not recognize its STEM. So those guys, unfortunately, they couldn't get 2 years of OPT. And then there were people who were doing their MBA in finance. Now, MBA in finance is not very technical, but from USCIS's point of view, it is technical because it involves a lot of math. So those guys ended up getting STEM. So these are the things that I would highly recommend you do a little bit research on your university in your first semester. Okay, so again, getting to the point. So once you apply for H1 and you get selected, the first H1B, the work visa, you get it for 6 years. Now, if you want to be in here more than that, it's your responsibility to convince your employer to apply for your green card before that 6 year ends. So usually in 4th or 5th year of your H1, you have to pursue your employer to go ahead and apply for your green card. Now, during CPT and OPT, once you get CPT and once you get your OPT approved, if meanwhile, if on OPT you lose your job, you need not to worry. You have to find a job within next 90 days. On OPT, you cannot be unemployed more than 90 days. 90. So within 3 months, you have to find a job. In H1B, however, the time duration is only 60 days. If you're on H1B and you lose your job, within 60 days, you have to find a job and make sure before the 60 days ends, you are sending out your new H-1B packet. It's because in that case you have to transfer your visa. So before the 60 days end, you have to get your new company to send out new papers for your new H-1B visa. The same thing applies for when you change the university also. When you come to US, you get a certain immigration status document called I-20. If you happen to change universities, if you happen to change even departments, you have to make sure your I-20s are getting transferred. Now, at the start of this session, I was talking about how immigration status and employment authorization are two different things. As I said, when you're in India, when you're in your homeland, we don't need to worry about it. It's very simple, right? You go to company, you apply, you get a job, and you start working. However, when you go to abroad, it's not the case like this. There is one thing which gives you right to be legally in that country, which is called immigration status. The other thing is employment authorization. Someone who is legally immigrated to United States, that does not mean they have also authorization to work there legally. And that's when the student phase comes in, right? Like when you get in here as a student, yeah, you're good, you are immigrant, or you can study here, but nobody tells you that that's about it. Like even though you get a job, you can't work. So you have to understand the difference between employment authorization and legally allowed to work. Same example as I gave you, if you're on CPT and OPT or H1 and you lose a job, within that 90 days or within that 60 days, you are fine. You are the legal immigrant of US, but you can't start working unless you have sent those papers. So understand this difference very carefully. Just because you have those I-20s and your service with your university, that does not mean you can start working right away, unless you can work part-time on campus, but that's a different thing at all. So do make sure you have valid employment authorization at all cases when you come to US. Now, when you are in university and you are studying, obviously you can't work full time for next night till you get either CPT or OPT. But there are ways to work part time. While you are a student, university is authorized to allow you to work not more than 20 hours a week. So when I was in university, I used to work in a lab as a lab assistant. I used to work 20 to 25 hours. In my university, they would allow 25 hours part-time on campus. But nowadays, universities are being extra careful. So they're trying to limit those hours per student, 15 to 20 hours a week. So you could do that to earn money, to obviously take care of your expenses. So yeah, you could do that. All right. Now, the third and most important thing that I want to talk about is this new immigration policies overhaul and everything we have been learning and hearing in news by Trump administration. So my viewpoint is, and I have very closely monitored these things. I have a lot of friends who have gone through this in the last 2 to 3 years. I myself have gone through a lot of obstacles and ruckus. Um, but I will tell you, as long as everything you are doing is legit, you don't need to worry even 1%. This whole immigration overall thing, they're trying to crash upon those who either try to take advantage of immigration system's loophole or bringing up malpractices into job industry. You will get to know slowly. There have been more than likely a lot of ill practices, malpractices in US's Indian IT industry diaspora, unfortunately. And I don't want to go into a lot of details about that because that is something not very cool, to be honest. Like a lot of Indians are involved in those things, and it's basically the companies who are trying to get uh, unnecessary advantage of the United States immigrations. So they are definitely cracking down upon those. But if you have a legit job, if you have a legit position, if you have a legit company, that it doesn't matter a lot. After 2016, like after this the whole overall happened, I myself changed 2 jobs, and every time I was able to get my visa very successfully. The only difference is the before that would have taken 2 to 3 months, it took 6 to 7 months. But I mean, just 3 to 4 months delay is not much when you talk about the bigger picture. And again, your university matters a lot. There have been cases lately where there were these so-called fake universities or degree mills. Uh, so USCIS has definitely, sorry, crash upon some of those. What those universities were doing basically is they didn't have any legit setup. They didn't have any curriculum or professor or anything. They were just employing their recruiters to go around the globe and try to get international students. They were in a way giving those international students a legit way to get into a US. And there were few universities who, after the student got into a US, they were just they were just basically asking them to pay their fees per semester. However, the students were not attending classes, they weren't doing anything. And those are the universities who were crashed upon. But like, I'm sure like almost 100% of you'll be going to good well-known universities, so you don't need to worry. And all those news that you might have heard, like even right now, I was seeing some stupid news, to be honest, by Times of India yesterday, saying that the H1B applications rejection rate has increased. And I mean, that is just bogus. Like, you don't need to worry about that at all. Those are the kind of application, those are basically the people who are trying to get into US and get their H1B done in very wrong way. Like, everything about their application is wrong. So the 5% decline is nothing. As I said, for those who are a legit job, who have a good job, it just really doesn't matter to them. So don't get scared by all that panic that you are reading into media. There has been overall uh, the opinion that I've seen in a lot of Indians, or even when sometimes I speak with my family or friends in India, I get that just that now it's almost impossible to get immigrated to US, or once you are in US, the everything else is very difficult. It's not like that at all. The job industry and the university and that atmosphere you will be in is extremely welcoming, is extremely enjoyable, and I'm sure all of you will enjoy a lot. Just don't try to get yourself associated with all these companies and universities I mentioned, because the two see the either of these two things will happen. Either that university will lose its accreditation sooner or later. If you have graduated by then good, but if you haven't, then definitely you're in trouble. And or the second thing is, those universities, even though you able to get yourself graduated through them, they won't give you any of this CPT or OPT that I just talked about, because those UCS already have the list of those universities, so it will be very difficult to get into a suitable immigration process after that. Um, so as long as you take care of that, you need not to be worry at all. This whole scene that the Trump has cracked down upon, that's just not. See, the bills and laws are very two different things. There will be always some or other bill in Senate all the time. Like even in India's Lok Sabha, right? There will be thousands of bills, but that doesn't mean that's not a law. Um, so any Senate member can stand up and he can ask to pass a bill. So a bill that says that stop green card for all the immigrants. That doesn't mean anything. A bill, if that passes Senate, it takes forever to become a law. So if you especially in Indian media, if you see any news such as, oh, this there is currently a bill in Senate to reduce the number of H1Bs, just ignore it, plain and simple, ignore it until and unless it comes from official USCIS website. You shouldn't believe into anything that just spreaded in media. So I hope I was able to give you some meaningful insight on overall immigration. I would be more than happy to take any of your questions. So yeah, I just got a question saying that if we don't get H1B after completion of OPT, then so as I said, if you get 2 years of OPT, or in some very rare cases 2.5 or 3. If you don't get H1B after that, then you have two options. Either you can always go back to India and put in a new application, or you can enroll into another university. So, for example, you were with University A, and you got 1 year of CPT and 3 years of OPT. So in 4 years, you totally got four H1B chances, which is very rare that your H1 won't get selected. But say it comes to it uh, after the last attempt of March and April, your OPT or your H1B didn't get selected. Then after your OPT stem ends, you have to enroll into another university. Uh, I hope that answers your question. So, I mean, if you don't get your H1B selected in within the OPT time, then you either have to apply to another university. You can go for another master's program or PhD program. There are legit universities which give the CPT from day one. What that means is, as soon as you enroll into those university, you can legally start working. As I said, in most of the universities, you have to wait 9 months. But if you already have one master's done, then there are few universities which allow you to start working almost immediately. There are only few of them, but many of the students do that, and they are legit. So yeah, that is another option. Then again, I saw a question saying that what are the opportunities to stay back in US. So I'm assuming this is if you don't get your H1 selected. So yeah, as I said, the only legit way is to get yourself enrolled into another university where you by default extend your student status. So if you came here for masters and you want to either study further, so you can always go for PhD. There are many universities where you really try successfully. I have seen a lot of people getting PhD admission without any much hassles. So you could explore that option. Do this one. No, so yeah, so I'm glad someone asked that. So someone just asked about campus placement. I would definitely like to talk a little bit about it. It's not like in India. It's it's not like in India the TCS and Microsoft used to come and they would get top candidates. It's normally not like that. There are few universities which are preferred by big companies, definitely. Like my university, RIT, it was extremely preferred by Amazon at that time. Most of our CS guys would get placed in Amazon, but that's not a campus placement. The US universities, especially this top 10 business school about which the question was, they usually have two career fair in a day, and there will be over 100 to 150 companies coming to those career fair. You have to go to those booths and put in your application. uh, if your university is really top tier, like as the question was top 10 business school, then yeah, I mean, obviously you don't have to worry much about getting a job either through campus fair, or even you put application outside, you will definitely get a job. As from what I have seen, yeah, I hope you guys can hear me. Sorry about that, my router just restarted, internet router. So yeah, I was talking about chances that you will get placed through campus placement. But don't rely upon that. Try to build your connection as soon as you arrive into US. Go on LinkedIn. If you don't have LinkedIn profile, I would highly recommend create a LinkedIn profile. Try reach out everyone who is remotely related to your field. That helps a lot. Especially just Google for recruiters. Search for recruiters. You know what I would do? So I'm in telecom field, right? So there was unfortunately one time where my job ended, and it was a massive layoff, and I had to find another job in 60 days because I was on H1. uh, I literally went on LinkedIn and just searched for telecom recruiters, network engineering recruiters. I must have added over 500,000 connection during that time. Most of the recruiters, they are there to help you. They also, I mean, if they can get you a job, it's good for them. It's good for their business. So they will actively help you getting a job, but you have to reach out to them. uh, Most of the big companies, you will see their job postings on LinkedIn. Do apply to them. Dice, DICE, is it's another very helpful site. So yeah, these are the things that will. I mean, these are the proven things. These are the proven methods. Like you really don't need to do anything apart from that. Just don't rely only upon campus placement. Uh, in campus placement, the another thing that you have to make sure is before you apply to job, just do a simple Google search and see if that company uh, hires international students, because a lot of times, even though if those companies can hire you when you're currently on CPT or on OPT, the companies can't do your H1. In that case, it won't be a really very fruitful option to go for those companies if you have another option. I hope this answers your question. I just got another question saying, is MBA in Germany better option or MBA in US? uh, See, the thing about Germany and Europe is their one of their pros is their cost. The cost will be definitely much lesser than US. The cost will, I mean, the financially speaking, if your finance is your major criteria, then yes, MBA in Germany is definitely a good option in that sense. However, make no mistake, I have had few friends who immigrated to US from Germany. In fact, one of the engineers in my team currently where I'm working, he recently immigrated to US. When it comes to more job opportunities or more probability of finding a job in big companies, in general, career stabilization, US is definitely a big market. I mean, just by sheer geographical size, I think US is what, like 10 times of any of the European countries. And apart from that, the employment authorization in Europe works a little different than US. In some cases, is easy to get, but I would rather recommend MBA from US if you are able to get into really good university. Because as I said, to tell you honestly, by something, by some way, by some mean, you would find a way in to US. There are already so much established businesses, uh, also from the people of Indian origins. There are a lot of ways to get your career on track if you are in US. There are the one thing that US never lacks is opportunities. There always will be opportunities. You just have to find one which is suitable for you. So if you want my opinion, I would definitely recommend MBA in US. Right, is there are there any other questions? Okay, so seeing a question saying that I'm a finance graduate with CFA. Okay, how can I get a job in US without doing MBA? So the first thing I would like to know that, are you already in US or you are pursuing to come to US? Because if you're already in US, then you don't need to worry, right? You just go ahead and apply for a job. If you're in India and you're just trying to come to US without doing MBA, so the one option for you is, uh, I mean, I'm just talking about students visa here. So get an admission in some university for MBA or the program of your choice. Come to US, and in 8 to 9 months you will be eligible to work in US. Just little before that, start applying for a job and see if you can get one. So I have seen cases where even though you are enrolled in degree, but if you happen to get a job and that company is able to fulfill all your immigration needs like H1B and 4 then you don't really need to complete your degree, right? So as you said, you for example, you came to US on say MS in accounting with some company, say University of New York, State University of New York. Then you completed your coursework for 9 months, and before that, you got a job based on your CFA. Then from that point onwards, it's really up to your company. It's up to you whether you want to complete that degree or not. That is one way. The second way is, if you just want to come to US, is you can obviously come here on business visa. Like, I don't know what your situation is if you're already working in India for some company, but if you can manage to come to US on some other visa, say tourist visa or business visa, and after that, within that time, say for 3 months, 4 months, you're able to get a job, And if that company is willing to do your visa transfer, for example, if you come here on business visa, which is for 2 to 3 months, and within that you found another job, and that company is like, oh, okay, it's cool that you're on business visa, no worries, we'll just do your visa transfer. Then you can start doing that. But the thing that you already have CFA is great. That will definitely help you a lot in getting a job. So yeah, try to pursue those options. Any other questions? MBA finance in Singapore versus MBA in US. Again, I would personally, again, because I have seen, I used to have a colleague, friend, who had done uh, the masters in Singapore, but ended up coming to US. What I have always liked about US is, as I said, just number of opportunities. Not only the sheer geographical size, but just number of jobs is definitely better in US compared to these countries. My university that I went to, Rochester, RIT, they also have their branches in Singapore and Dubai. And what a lot of people do is they get their admission in RIT in Singapore or RIT in Dubai, and they get transferred to US. Uh, so I would recommend in US, if you able to get into a good university into US and really strive hard to get job in US, then to tell you honestly, sky is the limit. Because apart from that, that will almost never happen, that you want to get into a company or university it's not in US. That will never happen, I promise you that. Every big opportunity that you would have envisioned, you would find a way to get about your business in the US about it. But yeah, again, to touch a little on that topic, there are some universities who have their branches outside US. So I have seen Canada, Singapore and Malaysia, a lot of US universities, Dubai. So if you can get into that branch, which is definitely a lot uh, easier to get into those branches than their main branch in US. Like RIT, to get into certain fields into US's RIT is very difficult. But those people, they manage to get into RIT Dubai or RIT Singapore, and they transfer into US. You can do that. Okay. Are there universities in USA which accept application of MBA with only English language score and not GMAT score? No, man, not. I'm sorry, I don't know if you're a guy or girl, but yeah, that I haven't heard of any good universities doing that. GMAT and the job experience is highly recommended if you want to get into a university which is really good. If you happen to find a university which prefer only English language course, I mean, I'm sure there are so many universities. I was reading there are over 3,000 universities in US. So I'm sure you can definitely find a university which can give you admission only based on ILS or IELTS. And they don't need GMAT score. But to tell you honestly, the accreditation wise, ranking wise, those are not going to be a cream of the class. They are not going to be very good universities. That doesn't mean that you won't be able to find a job. That of course doesn't mean anything. As I said, the good universities definitely help you get a job sooner, but that doesn't mean that if you get a degree from bad universities, your job chances are hampered. Really that doesn't mean anything like that. When it comes to job search, it really depends on your own wits and own skills. At the end of the day, after a certain point, companies really don't care if you're from Harvard or some other university, as long as you could get job done. So yes, you can definitely find those universities. If you just Google, you will find a list of universities uh, that can give you admission only based on ILS, and they don't require GMAT. All right, so I guess that's about the questions. It was really nice talking to you guys. I enjoyed it a lot. I hope you guys had a good experience too. I look forward on to seeing all of you soon. Bye. Take care.